Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lesego Matshe. I work within the Property Development Division at Sasol. You've already heard a lot about our petrol station offering. So my job is simply to take you through the process of from that time when you identify a spot, you drive past it, you see it, wow, it looks like a nice corner, there's a lot of traffic, maybe this would be an ideal opportunity for a petrol station. So basically, I'm going to take you through the process of from vacant piece of land to construction to the day when it opens up for trade and is handed over to an aspiring Sasol franchisee. So basically, these are the list of pre-screening requirements. The panels earlier, I think the DMRE as well as SIPO already mentioned most of the items that are listed on this document. But basically, I'm actually now putting numbers to it as well as time frames. So the starting point always is location. Where is that specific property located? So on a daily basis, I receive a lot of inquiries via email or telephone, people saying, Lesego, I'm interested in developing a petrol station. I've got a piece of land. So generally, this is the list of requirements I would typically send to the person that has inquired, the location, where is the property located. It's very important that you provide the Google coordinates. And the reason is if I give you a picture of a map somewhere in the middle of KZN and you don't know anything about KZN, to pinpoint the specific corner where that piece of property is located will be quite difficult. So it makes our lives very easy if you provide us with the exact GPS coordinates, because we go in and we drill in and we look at where exactly in that corner is that property located. And then the next thing would be the traffic count. Also very important, there's a certain number of cars or traffic that should be passing through a particular road. So just because you see a lot of cars, they may not meet the minimum number that is required to develop a petrol station. We also need a copy of the title deed or PTO, as mentioned earlier. SIPO has explained why we need the PTO. The other reason why we need this document is we need to know that we contracting or in discussions with the right person, because then anybody can just go and approach us and talk to us about a property that does not even belong to them. So that is a compliance ticking exercise for us to ensure that we are speaking to the valid title holder or leaseholder or PTO holder of that specific property. The zoning certificates, I think it explains itself. I've put in the full description so that you understand the reason why we ask for these documents. We're not being difficult. We're simply trying to make sure that we take all the boxes before we even get to a point where we say, yes, we are interested and we want to continue exploring the opportunity further. You'll see at the bottom, I think this is very important for an inspiring property owner that would like to develop a petrol station. These are the initial studies that you would typically need to do. I've put estimates here, so out there you could get some of these done cheaper or some more expensive. So I've just put an estimate. The various specialists are here in the room. They can confirm more or less what it could be. But typically, these are the studies that you will need to do and the costs associated with that. So more or less about, I've put about 700,000, but sometimes it ranges even up to $1 million or plus to get to a point where you've got all these rights in place before we even get to going on site and building the site. That's the important point as well, is that typically we don't fund this process or this step, the obtaining of these approvals. They would have to be funded by the respective developer / property owner. Sasol only comes in when we invest in terms of construction, the signage and equipment that we put on site. So this is your initial phase where you now prepare the specific property to get to a point where it's viable to build or spend the amount of capital that needs to be spent to set up a petrol station. Now let's talk different deal structures. Sipho did mention some of these earlier. So once we've gone through that first phase of assessing and we say, yes, great, your specific property needs are required minimum volume throughput, the location is great, the traffic is great. Then we sit down with the property owner and we discuss various deal structures. So these are the 3 of the deal structures that are available. The 4th one that Sipho mentioned is the company-owned, company lease. So that would be where Sasol owns the property and Sasol will build the petrol station as well. Sasol will also appoint the franchisee for that specific site. So I didn't put that on there because it's more or less irrelevant to the audience. So these are the 3 deal structures that would be relevant to an aspiring landlord or developer that wants to put up a petrol station and probably also operate it in the end. So the option 1 is a model where the property owner has the funds. They want to build this petrol station as well as operate it. They only come to us and say, Sasol, I just love your brand. I want your brand. And I also want your fuel, but I have the money. I've got 22 million to build this thing, shop fit it, and run it myself. That's the first option. The second option is a franchise beer agreement model. It's more or less similar to option 1, but this developer wants a Sasol delight. So in the first option, the developer has an option of having their own non-branded shop, which has nothing to do, that's not associated to Sasol, and we allow them to do that in that case. We don't get involved in their building, we don't get involved in their shop, we don't tell them what to sell in there, and that's why the cost to the landlord is higher than the second option. So in the second option, more or less first option, but in that option, that developer says, I still want to build this thing, do everything else, but I want a Sasol delight. Then you say, okay, fine, no problem. Well, you can have a Sasol delight. You will still shop it, fit it yourself, but we will collect a turnover fee because of the brand associated to our delight brand. We will collect a fee of whatever you sell in the shop for that. The last option, which I think is basically what our business looks like today, is the option 3, the franchise A model, full lease deal. So it's company-owned, company lease. So in this case, Sasol sits down and negotiates a deal with the property owner. Once we've done all the assessments, we've done the volume projections, then we say, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Landlord, this is how much we offer to pay you on a monthly basis based on what we project the site to pump, what it will sell in the shop, whether it's going to have a QSR offering or other various offering on the site. This is the X amount of rental that we will pay you for the 15 years that we are going to be operating a petrol station on your property. The property owner will then normally use our rental lease offer to go out into the various funding institutions such as ABSA to say, I've got a piece of land, I've got an offer from Sasol, this is how much they're prepared to pay me on a monthly basis. I need to build this thing, it's going to cost me X amount. ABSA, are you prepared to come on board and help me fund the construction of this petrol station? And at that stage, conversations between ourselves, Sasol and ABSA will come in, where we now work together to see the process through, in order for the funding process to go through smoothly, as well as for both interests of the oil company and of ABSA to be protected from a legal point of view. And as you can see, the costing there is a bit more evenly split, where the developer spends about 14 million and we spend about 11 million. So all in all, a brand new Rolls-Royce type of looking Sasol site costs 25 million to build. Yeah, and that's basically it. Okay, I think this is the last slide. On this slide here, I just wanted to give a short shot of how long it actually takes. So from that greenfield vacant piece of land to the day when that site is ready for opening. For an NTI, it takes about 3 years. So all those relevant approvals that we need to go through up to a point where we are ready for construction can take anything from probably minimum 3 years. Sometimes it takes 5 years, some 10 years if you had to. If you had objections to your zoning, objections to your EIA, objections to your licenses, if there's a delay maybe in the funding process. So generally, minimum a brand new from greenfield to the day we open for trade takes a minimum of 3 years. The second option is the option that Sipho spoken to earlier, where we take over an existing petrol station. It could have been a white site, it could have been a competitor site. That is the quicker process. That takes shorter, 1 year minimum. If there are no delays, if the DMRE doesn't want to do a change of heads, if the outgoing oil company doesn't want to remove their tanks on time, or even if there's contamination on site and there's remediation that needs to take place, that can also delay the process. But typically, brand new from the scratch, 3 years minimum, and then taking over an existing white or competitor site, 1 year. So yeah, that's it. I think a lot of it was covered by the previous speakers. So I just came to just put it together from beginning to end. How do we get from initial phase up to the end where we have a beautiful petrol station out that one of our retailers then operate on a daily basis for us. Thank you.